my beloved child, as I gaze upon you with eyes filled with boundless love and compassion, I am moved to speak words of encouragement and strength into the depths of your soul. Today, I want to take you on a journey through the tumultuous waters of life, a journey that will require unwavering faith, steadfast trust, and a willingness to step out onto the waves in the midst of life's storms. Think back to the night when my disciples found themselves caught in a fierce storm while crossing the Sea of Galilee, Matthew 14 verses 22 to 33 NIV. The winds howled, the waves crashed against their boat, and fear gripped their hearts as they struggled to keep afloat. In the darkest hours before dawn, they saw a figure walking on the water, a sight that filled them with terror, mistaking me for a ghost. But then I spoke words of comfort and reassurance to them. Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. And Peter, in a moment of bold faith, cried out, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And I responded, Come. With trembling steps, Peter stepped out of the boat and began to walk on the water toward me. Yet, as he saw the wind and the waves, fear began to overtake him, and he started to sink. Lord, save me, he cried out, and immediately I reached out my hand and caught him, saying, You of little faith, why did you doubt? This story holds a powerful lesson for you, my child. A lesson about the importance of faith amidst life's storms, about the necessity of trusting in divine providence even when the winds rage and the waves threaten to engulf you. Just as Peter walked on the water by faith, so too are you called to step out in faith and trust that I am with you always, even in the midst of life's most tumultuous storms. But perhaps you find yourself like Peter, struggling to maintain your faith in the face of adversity, allowing fear and doubt to overshadow your trust in me. In those moments, I urge you to remember the words I spoke to my disciples. You of little faith, why did you doubt? Matthew 14 verse 31 NIV. For it is in those moments of doubt that your faith is truly tested and strengthened. Consider the words I spoke to the Apostle Paul in his own time of weakness and struggle. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9 NIV. Even in your moments of weakness and doubt, my grace is more than enough to sustain you, to uphold you, and to carry you through the storm. Yet, walking on water requires more than just faith. It requires a willingness to step out of the safety of the boat, to leave behind the comforts of the familiar, and to embrace the unknown with courage and determination. It requires surrender, a surrender of your fears, your doubts, and your need for control into my loving hands. But perhaps you find yourself hesitant to step out onto the waves, clinging to the safety of the boat rather than embracing the adventure that lies beyond. In those moments, I urge you to remember the words I spoke to my disciples. Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. Matthew 14 verse 27 NIV. For I am with you always, guiding you, protecting you, and leading you into the fullness of life that awaits you beyond the storm. So I urge you, my beloved, to step out in faith, to trust in divine providence, and to embrace the adventure of walking on water. For in doing so, you will experience the fullness of my presence, the depth of my love, and the power of my grace to carry you through even the fiercest storms of life. My precious child, as I gather you close to my heart, I am filled with a profound sense of love and compassion for you. Today, I want to take you on a journey to the Garden of Gethsemane, a place of anguish, surrender, and ultimately redemption. It is here, amidst the olive trees and the darkness of night, that you will discover the true meaning of strength and surrender. Think back to that fateful night when I retreated to the Garden of Gethsemane with my disciples, knowing that my hour of betrayal and suffering was at hand. Matthew 26 verses 36 to 46 NIV. As I knelt in prayer, The weight of the world's sin pressed down upon me like a crushing weight, and I cried out to my Father in agony, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." In that moment of intense anguish, I wrestled with the human desire to escape the suffering that lay before me, to avoid the pain and humiliation of the cross. Yet, even as I prayed for deliverance, I ultimately surrendered to the will of my Father, trusting in His plan and His purpose for my life. Such is the essence of strength and surrender, my child, that it is not found in resistance or self-reliance, but in humility and trust in the divine will. It is a strength that recognizes the limitations of human understanding and embraces the sovereignty of God's wisdom and love. But perhaps you find yourself facing your own Garden of Gethsemane, a time of trial, uncertainty, and the temptation to resist the path that lies before you. In those moments, I urge you to remember the words I spoke to my disciples. Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Matthew 26 verse 41 NIV. For in the garden, as I prayed earnestly to my Father, my disciples slept, unable to comprehend the gravity of the moment or the importance of vigilance and prayer. Yet, even in their weakness, I offered them grace and forgiveness, knowing that they too would need strength and courage to face the trials that lay ahead. Consider the words I spoke to the Apostle Paul in his own time of weakness and struggle. "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9 NIV. Even in your moments of weakness and doubt, my grace is more than enough to sustain you, to uphold you, and to carry you through the darkest of nights. Yet, embracing strength and surrender requires more than just a willingness to yield to God's will. It requires a surrender of the heart, a letting go of your own desires and plans, and a willingness to trust in the goodness and faithfulness of God, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. But perhaps you find yourself hesitant to surrender fully to God's will, clinging to your own desires and plans rather than embracing the unknown with courage and faith. In those moments, I urge you to remember the words I spoke to my Father in the garden. "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22 verse 42 NIV. For it is in surrendering your will to God's that you will find true peace, true strength, and true fulfillment. So I urge you, my beloved, to embrace the path of surrender, to kneel in prayer as I did in the Garden of Gethsemane, to entrust your life and your future into the hands of a loving and faithful God, and to find strength and courage in the knowledge that His plans for you are plans for good and not for harm, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 NIV. With all my love and grace, your Savior and Redeemer,